Hey y'all, welcome to My Mysteries, the channel that brings you interdimensional content, which means that the readings are from a broad and expansive point of view as they are channeled through vast dimensions of space and time and therefore should resonate with you guys whenever you come across them. So guys, this is going to be a collective reading, which is our revival reading. I'm going to pull some cards and hopefully it will help you clarify certain things that you are going through or certain things that are occurring in whatever situation you're in. Hey you guys, how y'all doing? I hope y'all are good. I think I've been going through some kind of a purge. It's been real. It's been a lot, but we are here. Just also guys, remember how the seasons in your life or certain emotions or even certain thought patterns happen in waves. There's no one moment where you're like, oh, I'm done with this, or I'm healed from this, or I'm done with this grief, or I'm done with this. It happens in waves. Even graduation, you know how we talk about graduation from mystery school? We talk about embodiment even. Embodiment happens in waves. It's not one moment where you're like, oh, I have embodied iNzunza, iNzunza, or like, I've embodied this entity, I've embodied my higher self, like in this one moment. It happens in waves. You can spend 3 years, and within those 3 years, there's a process of the clearing of karmic cycles and the embodiment, like all happening at once. You can spend a whole year in a phase of graduation where your guides feel like even though your lessons and your education will still continue, but the test part of your journey is done. The part where you're getting tested and getting getting marked and all that, that's done. That's okay. But even that process, it's not one moment in time. It can be 3 months, it can be 6 months, it can be a year. Because everything happens in waves. This wave of graduation comes over you and you feel this lightness of being, and then there's parts in between where you feel as if you're still within it. You're still within the initiation, you're still within the testing. You'll feel like, oh, I think I'm getting tested this week, and then a month later you will feel an even deeper feeling of this graduation where you'll feel like, oh, I understand more. Maybe someone will come to you and you'll be able to explain a concept that for a long time you didn't understand, and in that moment you understand that you now understand it. But you also understand that there is a communication where you are being called into maybe a moment of teaching or a moment of relating certain stories. Maybe even it's not so much that you're a teacher, maybe you're a storyteller, which is also a form of healing, a form of frequency technology. And then 6 months from then, but again, in between, there's times where you feel as if like you're in the thick of it. You might even develop a dark night of the soul within the period that you call graduation. You could even develop a dark night of the soul, and that could have you doubting and feeling as if, oh no, I'm not where I think I am. This is not it. This is not embodiment. This is because now I've got a dark night of the soul, and oh my word. And then again, 2 weeks after that, you feel an even deeper sense of understanding of a concept. Maybe you get an offer. Maybe you think of an idea that helps you express this aspect of yourself that is one that is done with tests or done with certain types of karmic cycles. Maybe not all the karmic cycles, but certain type of karmic cycles. Even an event where maybe you are moving on to new guides, that may be new ancestors, new entities. It happens in waves. It's not one moment. It happens in waves. An introduction can happen over 3 months. An introduction can happen over 6 months, maybe only after a year of interacting with a certain ancestor or a certain entity. After only a year where you feel like, oh shit, I totally get this entity now. I totally understand this. So don't feel like you're moving too slow or you're doing the wrong thing when you find yourself in something like a dark night of the soul, even though you were feeling as if you were doing really well. The emergence of a dark night of the soul is not a message to you to say that you're not doing well enough, or it's not a message to you to say you're not who you think you are. A dark night of the soul, as much as it has been characterized as the moment where your whole life falls apart, we need to understand why it is that that happens. The dark night of the soul is not the losing of the job or the losing of the spouse or the losing of the life that you thought you wanted or like thought you had in the bag or whatnot. It's the part where you start to that's an event. The whatever it is that you lose, that's an event. The dark night of the soul is when you start to understand that reality is not as you thought it was. This is prompted by certain events like the losing of a job, the losing of a spouse, the loss of the life that you thought was yours. That tends to prompt you, inshallah, that tends to, like, God willing, that prompts you into investigating more about your life, because now you're in a completely different situation, only for you to find out that maybe that person is not who you think they are. Maybe you are not who you think you are. Maybe the things you wanted are not what you want, and that's the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is where you slowly start to figure out that your life is not real, not in the movie sense, not in some like weird sense. It's not real in that it doesn't represent who you really are. It doesn't represent your soul signature. Nothing in your life mirrors your actual soul signature. And that's because you are not even aware of that soul signature. It could walk right past you and you wouldn't recognize it. You might be like, oh, that's hot. Not knowing that like there's a whole thing happening there. That's what the dark night of the soul is. So in a moment, let's say, of graduation where you experience a dark night of the soul, it just means that again something has revealed itself that completely makes it so that a previous reality can no longer be upholded. So which means previous beliefs up until this moment can no longer be upholded. And so there's a need to change the whole like inner world infrastructure so that it can support the new belief and the new, or hopefully again not a new belief but a new perspective, a, a new perspective initiated by an experience. So an experience has made you realize or connected you to a more expansive perspective, which will bring about a dark night of the soul. Because like I said, the body reacts every time consciousness expands. Your body's way of expanding in line with this consciousness, because your body is a part of that. But if we're going to separate it, your body's way of processing it is obviously part of the recalibration where it takes in the new information. It's kind of like it eats it. It kind of eats it, like it consumes the new information. And if you do not have the depth, which is to say you don't have enough space within you to hold the new concept, then the body rejects the new reality. Kind of like when you're eating and what you're eating doesn't do well with your stomach. And so your body rejects it, it spits it out, which means it starts to defend the previous reality. It starts like enforcing boundaries to protect the previous reality. So that can be something like when you realize that someone is maybe not who you thought they were, but your body doesn't, it's not ready to calibrate that information because it's thinking about all the repercussions, but it's also thinking about the, like, the past and how that would mean that someone tricked you, someone deceived you. Sometimes your body is not ready to deal with that. So it will uphold certain boundaries to defend the previous reality, which is a reality in which you can trust this person. You can depend on this person, even though your experience is currently telling you that you're not. But if your body can't calibrate that information, it will start nostalgically thinking about certain situations where this person did look out for you, where they did trust you. It will, all of a sudden, you'll start feeling like you miss this person. You actually like being around. That's your body trying to stick to the status quo. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Yeah. Or that's your mind rather. But obviously, when I say mind, right, obviously the mind is not the brain. So when I say mind, body, same thing in this case. So don't be scared when you find yourself like you're like, I had this reading and I felt so good afterwards, but now I feel like I'm going through something else. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's part of the whole thing. Remember, like, especially like if you book a reading, because a reading is meant to help you navigate through that transition between one reality and another by unfolding enough of the new reality that you can move into it so that you're not stuck when the one reality falls apart, when you realize that that's not true. You're not stuck and have to go back. No, we find information that builds up this new reality or a new version of yourself, which allows for a smooth transition. So don't be so hard on yourself. Basically, I say all of this to say that I think maybe some of you are being too hard on yourselves. Like, don't be too hard on yourself. Um, allow for change. Allow for change. We also tend to think that I know the gospel is that consistency is key. You know, that's what men want from women. That's what women want from men. That's what people want from their relationships and what people want from their kids at school. Just be consistent. Just be consistent. And it's like, yes, there are places where consistency has a place. There are places where consistency is totally valid, obviously. And though in terms of your consciousness, your reality, you need to be flexible. You need to allow for change, or you'll constantly be judging yourself against a benchmark or a metric that's not real. Oh, I'm doing so well. I thought I was done with this grief. Why do I suddenly feel sad? And then now you're judging yourself and feeling like, oh no, I must have forgotten to do some meditation. Or like, why am I feeling anxious? The meditation was starting to work. Like, why am I smoking this weed? And why am I getting a drink? It doesn't mean that you're not okay. Your mind could just be needing to process something and it's saying to you, yo, help me out, like spark that joint, like, because I'm putting these things together and in order to just like navigate them, I need some grease. Like, pour a glass of wine. Can I have 2 scoops of ice cream? Like, it's kind of like just your body like saying, comfort me. Now, yes, obviously this can get out of hand. Remember we were talking about how, what's the difference between a medicine and a poison? Dosage. But also, if uhamba nenzunza, what other people call overindulgence does tend to be like the norm for you. At the same time, there's an amount of discipline that you have access to that should make it so that you don't worry that much, even when you do feel like you've overdone something. Of course, if you do suffer from actual addiction, this is maybe not the conversation for you. or maybe I should put a disclaimer that I'm not talking to people that suffer from an actual addiction. Like, if you feel like you suffer from an actual addiction, no. Even though addiction is part of your body sometimes calibrating to a new version of yourself. But I don't want to talk about that because I don't want it to be as if, like, you know how it is. That conversation could get tricky for me. So, yeah. Trust yourself more. This transmission is to say, trust yourself more. Your guides and the entities you walk with, like iNzunza, are not looking for you to be afraid. They're not looking for you to worship them or for you to be afraid of them. They're looking for you to open up, to trust them. You know that part of Kendrick's song? I think it's "You Love Ne," where he says, "To keep it 100, I'd rather you trust me than you love me." Like, that's kind of where your guides are right now. Like, because to trust your guides is to trust yourself. But if you're constantly second guessing yourself and feeling as if like you're doing something wrong when you feel an emotion that the social construct tells you is a bad emotion or something like that, or is for sad people, like, if you're sad, be sad. You're spending too much time being ashamed of the fact that you're sad, that you're not getting the best out of the sadness. Like, you're not getting what you're supposed to be getting out of the sadness. Like, if you were getting what you're supposed to be getting out of the sadness, you would appreciate the sadness. You would appreciate the anger. You would appreciate the 2 days of feeling under, feeling weird. Because in those 2 days, even though you were feeling under and feeling weird and like mournful, but you took care of yourself. Like, you watched some Rick and Morty, you laughed a bit, you read a book you've always wanted to read, or fuck, for those 2 days you slept. You slept like the 2 days, but that was the sleep. That was the sleep you needed. Like, you needed that sleep from that place, because when you woke up, it felt like you were solving things in your dreams, like, or within your sleep, and now you're okay. But sometimes you spend so much time being ashamed of the fact that you're sad and trying to escape the fact that you're sad, or the fact that right now you're jealous or thinking about the things you don't have. And it's okay. Sit with it. Sit with it and ask yourself, like, why do you feel that way? Have you always felt that way? Are you the kind of person who, no matter what you get, you're always looking outside of yourself to see, like, what does another person have? Did this start earlier on, like in a childhood type of thing? Is this just like who you've become? Because in allowing yourself to be in that state that you're in, you allow yourself the space of self inquiry. You allow yourself the space of observation, of awareness. And that is the most powerful tool. That's the most powerful tool that you have. Awareness speeds up manifestation. There seems to be an inner reconciliation happening with you. These cards, you got such beautiful cards. You've got the Page of Cups, you've got the Six of Wands, you've got the Ten of Pentacles, and you've got the Two of Cups. There seems to be some kind of inner reconciliation happening with you, and it does have to do with your childhood. Something that maybe as a child, it feels like with this Three of Pentacles following the Six of Cups, it feels like, yeah, and the Five of Cups. It feels like when you put your childhood traumas to bed, like forever. Like now, ne, even if new things occur, the stuff that was occurring because of your childhood, like that's balanced, or because of the stuff that was happening in your childhood, like you've balanced that out. There's this, you no longer, I want to say you no longer belong to your childhood anymore. You're no longer just like this 7-year old that's like, or you're no longer this adult that's actually still a 7-year old that's stuck in a certain situation when they were young, be it some abusive situation, or a situation where they were not getting attention, or a situation where they witnessed something that they shouldn't have. Like, you know how that creates these traumas that then creates these like karmic cycles that we keep going through. Like you have kind of, you've reconciled certain karmic paths, and so you're no longer connected. Let's say in this case, you're no longer connected to your childhood in a way that is traumatic. And I think for some of you that might be quite a challenge, because you've identified yourself with your childhood trauma so much that if you were to completely let go of it, you may feel like you don't have an identity. Because also in the spiritual community, trauma bonding is like such a normal thing. And like not just trauma bonding with other people, but trauma bonding with yourself, where your self love is based on how much pain you've gone through. Like, as in, you always have to bring up for yourself the trauma of your childhood because it's so infused with who you are, which I think it is anyways, right? Isn't all our trauma so infused in who we are? But not in this way where you keep like reheating it every day like it's some leftovers, like where you take it out the fridge and put it in the microwave every day and you're about to eat it type of thing. Like it's okay for it to just be like, you know, like when you have a picture of when you were young, like let your childhood trauma be like that. Like, yeah, this did happen, I'm very aware of it, but I no longer make decisions based on the hurt that occurred that day or that time or in that situation. And I don't know, it's kind of, it's releasing a lot of energy towards the idea of family that was held up in that trauma. So what I'm seeing here is that like there's so much mm, there's so much energy that was held up in these memories. There's so much of your future, your aspirations that got held captive in these memories and in the way you kept the memories alive, which I understand because we're in the age of healing. So especially in the spiritual community, it totally makes sense where people were getting to understand their traumas. I think that's really where it started. Like we needed to understand our traumas, understand that they were traumas to begin with, because a lot of us come from generations of like adults or people that didn't even know that like, yo, this shouldn't be happening to you. This shit ain't cool. And a lot of you are like first generation of people that are dealing with their issues and dealing with what we call traumas. And so I think it would be natural that you would hold on to them for maybe sometimes longer than you need to the point where they become part of your identity. But also I guess this transmission is just to let you know, like you can let go. You can let go. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It did happen, but you can let go. It doesn't have to be your arc story, you know? Like, I am what I am because I was traumatized by this. Like, that's not true. That's part of who you are, but it's not the whole story. It's not your arc story. Like, do you know what I mean? Arc, arch. Y'all know what I mean. So, yeah. It seems like a celebration here in these cards. Actually, something like your trauma didn't hold you back. I think only now you realize how that could have happened. Because of the energy that's being released from the reconciliation of the karmic cycle, there's energy in there being released. Like I said, there's so much of your future and aspirations that was like held captive within this energy, and in allowing it to, I don't know, yeah, in the releasing of this lack type of energy that was so much in your past. Like, there's a lot of yourself that's now also releasing itself and letting itself into the energetic field, and you're allowing yourself to be in ways that you didn't think that you would be. This is also giving something like, let's say like you're married or you're not and you have kids with your partner. Did I say you're married and you're not? I meant you're married or you're not, and you have kids with your partner, and so much of your relationship with your parents when you were a child was holding captive a big part of how you parent. Like, you're a good parent and everything, but there were certain traumas or situations that happened in your past, or even just perspectives, like your perspective of your dad, the perspective of your mom, that held a piece of you captive, where you've always wanted to connect to that part of yourself and be this kind of parent or whatever, but you couldn't genuinely do it. And it was because of this situation that could have happened when you were young, and creating a certain pattern, a fear-based pattern, a self-limiting pattern, but a very subtle one, because I'm getting it was kind of hard for you to like, you I mean, it's kind of like you could have never seen it. The only way you're able to see it is because you've let go. You've let go of certain ideas or a certain anger or hate towards your caregivers or something like that, that is suddenly allowing you to act so different towards your partner, your children, your stepchildren, whatever it is, and you just feel better. You feel like a load has been taken off of you. It's like you were weighed down and you didn't even realize you were weighed down. It's like you were still protecting yourself from your childhood, but it's like you're an adult now. But you were still protecting yourself. So now you're an adult, and you've got children, you've got kids and all this, but there's a part of you that was still like this 10-year-old empath that is protecting themselves from the chaos of adults. You were still doing that. It's like your whole body was still clenched from like your childhood, and clenched out of like fear, clenched out of not wanting unnecessary attention, like all of that. And I feel like this is not something you realized again until you decided, like, actually, I'm just gonna breathe out the fuck. And as you breathed out, you realized your shoulders went down, your jaw muscles unclenched. And yeah, could be followed by a lot of crying. Just you feeling sensitive, you feeling vulnerable. And again, if you allow yourself to sit within that emotion, it will comfort you because it's not happening right now. It's an energetic balancing of a past situation. Something has come 360 for you, and it's okay. Basically, you're okay, you're safe now, and you're okay. Yeah. Okay, well, that's what I have for you. If it resonated, if the reading resonated, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to book a personal reading or a mentorship session, all that information is in the description box. There they are.